There it is, guys. This is the monster lift. Yep, for those that watched my last video, it was only inevitable that I was just going to go ahead and do it. Hey everybody, this is Pixis Designs. It's done. I did everything I needed to do to it. Yeah, there's a few little bugs and tweaks that I probably do. Just iron out for a little bit. For the most part, this thing is, it's done. It's big, beefy. Okay, so let's get into this. For just like my last two lifts, or actually rather my last lift period, this is not going to have any articulation at all. Everything is a pretty rigid subframe system. It is missing a few details here and there only because I'm not trying to be completely world accurate. There's no drive shafts. You don't need them. For the most part, this thing is just going to sit up on your shelf. I can see people taking, for the 5 people that might actually buy this kit, because, you know, sure, why not? May as well make it just for those few people. They probably will take some pictures with it and put it back up on their shelf and be done with it. So there's no point in going into a huge amount of detail. But I think, for the most part, I think I did a pretty good job on it. I tried to mimic a lot of the monster truck looks with the I guess I want to call those ladder stabilizer bars, whatever those things are, going horizontally there to the rear shaft. Obviously, there's no drive shafts because, again, like I say, you don't really need it. I kind of made a front skid plate to kind of mimic an RC vehicle. That's all I could really think to be able to put there. Again, no articulation. If you try to push down on these springy sections, the ones that come stock on the vamp, you may actually end up popping these out of socket. But again, there's really no point in trying to do that. You're not really accomplishing a whole much by trying to do the limit of articulation that it actually had to begin with. I've got a simulated exhaust port there. There may be, you know, if somebody wants to probably add on to the length of that to actually have something come out the back, you can. There is a hollowed end in it, so they can do that if they want. I just kind of kept it short just because I saw no reason to really make it, you know, what's the word, Mad Maxy. Even though this is totally Mad Max looking. So everything spins pretty freely. These are 130 millimeter tires. I will go over exactly what brand these are. You do have to keep in mind, as with most RC tires, and this goes with my other kits as well, you need to keep an eye on the depth of the rim itself, the attachment point from the depth to the outer, where it actually connects to the this is a determining factor on how deep your rim is going to be. Because if it's too deep, you're going to be rubbing the inside of the tire, you know. So I'm going to, as with my other listing, list out what tires that I know work with this kit. This is a pretty cheap set. It only costs 25 bucks and it looks fantastic, especially with the Stinger. I don't know if they sell a silver rimmed version, but you can always take these beauty rings off, bead locks. I remembered this time, the bead locks off, and paint them if you want to. Or you can try and find another set of wheels out there. You can fit bigger tires, taller tires, as long as you try and keep the width from the center line of the inside of the wheel to the hub, the base of the hub, the same. You can go, you know, pretty damn tall in this because, as you can see here, it's just outside the wheel arch. And the same for the back as well. And that's another thing you want to keep in mind. So I noticed after I had shown off my, well, let me just get these over here, my poor little Traxxas, just sitting over here not doing anything, completely disassembled. I noticed when modeling the adapter for these tires to fit on here, that especially with my Traxxas, there's two different size depths of the center of the hub, and I modeled mine initially off of this one. You can see it's a lot deeper, so therefore it pushes the inside further in, so it worked perfectly. But when I went to go put the front wheel on, you see how it's much further out? Well, my adapter wasn't reaching all the way through there, so I had to remodel the whole thing to add another 300 thousandths, 5/16 to the whole adapter set to make sure that it fits a deeper set. Not this set. It will not fit this set. It will fit this set. So I think, let me get a tape measure here. This wheel is roughly 2.5 inches by 5 inches. So the ring, or the depth of it, actually let me pull this off real quick. Actually, let me break everything down for you real quick because I got to do that anyways, and I will be right back. Okay, so here we go. We got everything broken down. Everything here is what you're going to receive in your kit. I'm going to try and keep this in frame. So you got the main sub chassis here. This can't all be broken down, well, not these. I'm gluing these in place. But for the most part, I'm going to try and ship this all pre-assembled for you, but it can be broke down. The only pieces that are going to be glued on this kit are these exhaust ports. Everything else is pretty much snap in, push in, press fit, so not a whole lot to it. Nothing flexible here. This is a solid sub-assembly, subframe assembly. And there is a marking on here that shows rear and front, just so you know which direction goes, but you'll know by just looking at that which way the front goes. So that's this part, and of course you have my extension pieces for putting the tire to the vamp stinger itself, and then of course the adapter for the RC 12mm plug hex 0.472 drive, as well as the screw and the nut. So no tires, no wheels. Okay, so here's what I was talking about before I had to do the breakdown. So the things that you'll need to pay attention, I'm going to put this wheel and tire set up on my Etsy, just so you can get an idea of, most of these RC companies have a tendency to put the dimensions to the hub, to the center of the hub. So you should be able to, for the most part, gauge how deep of a wheel you have, but also make sure that all 4 wheels are the same. Like I was saying before, like my Traxxas setup, for some reason the rear setup is less deep than the front setup. So if that happens and you buy a wheel set like that, obviously you're going to have about a 1/2 inch to a 3/4 inch difference in where they're going to set. So that's one of those things that you'll have to keep in mind. And for every person that looks at the listing, I'm going to have this video inside the listing details, so just be sure and read the listing details and make sure you have all the information that you need to drive you to the appropriate channels that you need to be driven to. Okay, so this is I should not have put my tape measure away, and now I don't know where I put it at. Oh. So this itself is about 1 inch long, maybe 1 1/8 inches. So at least you know that you have 1 1/8 inches between here and the main wall. So whenever you put this tire on, you know how much distance you'll actually have for that tire. There's plenty of room there. You can put a fairly deep or shallow, I guess, because the hub would actually be further out on here to be able to make that work. and this is my old Traxxas setup. I've already pulled the hub out of it, but you can see how much deeper it is, that it's actually at an angle. So you need to make sure that the hub is not that shallow, because then you're going to have issues. Okay, so just keep that in mind if you have an old Traxxas tire setup that you're trying to use. Make sure that they're more centrist hubs inside the center of the monster tire instead of all the way to the front end, because if they're all the way to the front end, then you're going to have an issue with this adapter set working. So either make sure that it's a deep dish rim or more of a centered rim. And the other part that you'll have to worry about is, of course, the width of the tire itself. These are 2.5-inch tires. If you go, let's measure that real quick. If you try to go to a 3-inch tire, you may have some issues with it rubbing the adapter for the vamp. So try to keep the tire width at around minimum 2.5 inches. And again, this is a 5-inch. It's a little over 5-inch, probably 5 1/8, 5.125-inch tire, so, or 130 millimeters. So there's that. Okay, so let's look over the actual tire and wheel itself real quick. So as far as purchasing this set on Amazon, like I said, they cost about, oh, I lied. These actually cost $51. So whenever you actually look at the listing, you'll actually see like the centerline hub. These specific tires, there's not actually a name brand on these. It just says 4-piece RC 2.2 tires. You can read all that. Pause it if you need to. But the more important part is the center line. It says 20 millimeters, 0.79 inches from the inside or the edge of the wheel to the main part of the hub. That's the part you'll need to look at to make sure, because this adapter is only an inch, maybe an inch and an eighth long. So 0.79 inches is plenty of room for that, especially when you got to make up for the tire itself. But I will add a link to this listing inside my listing on Etsy. I don't know how long these listings stay up on Amazon. That's kind of a crapshoot, but I will try to put like most of this information in here as I can. That way you know what this setup is for. That's the only drawback with going with RC tires, is it can be a crapshoot, whatever you purchase. Again, I'm trying to throw as much information out there as I can so that it will help you out whenever you're deciding to purchase your wheel and tire set for your vamp. And that's going to go for all of my RC conversions for the Vamp Stinger platform. So that's it. At least I know that a chassis is going to be pretty standardized, because these things are going to be standardized. It's the only thing you need to worry about is your wheel and tire setups that you plan on purchasing. And again, that goes for all of my RC conversion listings. Just make sure that I'm trying to put in there what wheel and tire set I know works. That way you're informed whenever you make your decision on which setup you want to go through. Okay, so that's that. So let me set this camera back up and I'll be right back. Okay, so as with most wheel and tires, at least with RCs, monster truck tires, they are directional, so just make sure that you set them for the right direction. Now, the adapter set for this monster tire setup, it is not straight down. So these adapters are actually going down at an angle. So you're actually gaining almost an inch worth of wheelbase from front to back whenever this set is put on. I've had some questions from people if I can try and get this to work with the gridiron rear attachment. They're super duper hammer all set up. I don't know what to actually call it. But this won't work with at least this suspension setup, because the way this is pushing the tire away from the back end, it will completely interfere with that second fender setup that is on that rear attachment. That's not to say that I can't come up with mine. I may not. I'm really not done with this Vamp and this Vamp Stinger platform, because I know that there's going to be six 6 more versions of the Vamp Stinger. You still got the Mark II version coming out. There's going to be a Dreadnought version. There has to be, because there was one. There's going to be the Jungle Tiger Force Vamp coming out. So probably an Arctic Vamp. I'm not surprised if they run this Vamp platform into the ground. But at least, you know, us customizers will be on top of it, being able to still produce items for it, because not everybody's going to want 8 different Vamps sitting on their shelf that all look the same, which is what Hasbro basically wants. So that's why we're here, to make everything completely different. And if they do happen to release a Dreadnought version of these, this monster setup will be perfect for that Vamp, or for that Stinger. So it'll be pretty awesome when they start, you know, doing the other color variations for this stuff. So with that being said, I'm not done with this with this body. There's always more things to do to it, always more add-ons, because what I personally want on my shelf, I have a feeling that other people would personally want to. And that's what it basically comes down to. For the most part, I'm really not making it for you, I'm making it for me. And then when I say, yeah, that's pretty pimp looking, I should put that up in my store, then it sells. So that's basically how most of that goes. But anyways, so let's go into the assembly of this whole setup and get everything put together. And I'm actually impressed by how well that spins. I know that's not always the case, but it's almost a bearing fit. A little wobbly. That's just due to the fact that there has to be some less tolerance there for that to spin. But anyways, so yeah, so with these being angled forward for the front and angled backward to the back, you'll have to keep that in mind whenever you assemble these things. So with that being said, this is angled forward, so this will be a front-facing shock. And you'll also have to keep this in mind whenever you're putting your tires on, because the V always faces forward. So yeah, so that's that. So we'll put that one down, and we've got this tire set up. We'll just go and lay it down flat and match the next wheel and shock, or shock to match that. So I should have probably done a better job of laying these out. So as you see here, these are facing forward, so the backs will need to face back. And that's, yeah, like that. Actually, I'll just put them all on, because, and then I'll look at it. I messed up somewhere here. Oh, that's what messed up. Okay. I'm actually now confusing myself here. There we go. Okay. So this is how it should look whenever you get it all set up. You got the direction of the tire facing forward on both sides. You have a flat edge here. So this kind of tells you that the planar surface of, you know, which direction it will be going. So that's facing that way, facing that way. This will be the front set. This is facing down that way. So this is the back, and this is the back. So this is the left side, and this is the right side. Okay. Okay, so move these out of the way. Here's your sub-assembly. Again, I'm going to try and have this assembled as much as I can. The only pieces that are glued on here are these two exhaust pieces. So for the most part, for those out there that actually want to try and break this down and paint it different colors, whatever you can, I'm not going to show you how to do that. That's up to you and you doing it. But for the most part, there shouldn't be anything that really breaks here. The way I printed these is in their highest possible tensile strength as far as, you know, bending and breaking and stuff like that. That's not to say you can't break it though. Just don't try. If you're forcing it beyond a certain position, it'll probably break, as with most things. But for the most part, this is a, you know, pretty solid setup. Okay, so once you pull this thing out of the box, you'll have a front and an R in here. All you'll do is just take your vamp, stinger, whatever, flip it over. What we're going to do is we're going to put our wheels on first. And actually probably should go and flip this back over just so I know which way these things are facing, because the way I separated the tires. You'll just slide this over the top of the shock like so. Boom. And then you'll push that all the way down just like that. And then we'll do the other side here. Same thing. And we'll do this, same thing. And make sure you slide it all the way down. Just like that. I mean, there is an option, if you wanted to, you can just leave it like that if you wanted to. It just takes away a lot of the monster look. Like that. So now we're going to flip it over and we're going to mount the sub chassis. So again, front, back, we're going to put the front on the front. Each of these posts has a little divot, and that's what these wishbone areas are going to be plugging into. So you'll slide this in behind the rear shocks that actually do go behind these posts right here. Slide that in just like that. Just like that. And just like that. And that is all there is to it. And this keeps coming out because I have pulled this thing in and out so many times it is just getting worn. Bob's your uncle. Pretty easy install, not much to it. And again, solid setup. Don't push down on it because it doesn't have a suspension anymore because it's all locked together. If you do try to push down on it, these wishbones will, the wishbone notches will unplug, so you'll have to plug those back into it. PSA. This is no longer a flexible, non-flexible vamp that it was, but now it's completely locked in monster truck that's not going to go anywhere suspension-wise. Yeah, there you go. That is my monster truck. The Stinger Monster. So I do have a bit of detail in there, as you can see, at least to try and block as much of the lower floorboard of the vamp as much as I could. Tried not to leave hardly any holes or gaps as much as I could. Simulated monster is all I was going for. I wasn't going for full articulation. Because with full articulation comes higher price, more hardware, stuff like that. This is only for those people that just kind of want the monster look and don't want to pay the Monster price or try to do a full RC conversion on the Vamp. And I know that there's plenty of you out there that don't want to go through all that fret and trying to make this thing look like an RC monster truck. So that is that. Just want to do a quick video to show you all what it looked like. I'll put Road Pig back over here because this is his favorite vehicle now. And I will throw this little monster boy up on top of my shelf. There is a few more things that I want to do with this. I do want to, I'm not done yet. I'll just leave it at that. I do want to do a few more conversions to finish a Dreadnought Stinger look to this vehicle. So there's more to come. I'm not done with this platform yet. It's an easy platform to work with. I have most of the stuff dialed in as far as what I want to do with it. And I'm able to get products prototyped and worked out fairly quickly. So that is that. This is Pixis Designs signing out.